Hello and welcome to the People First Weekly webinar. I'm your host, Todd Hendricks, and today we are going to dive into if your leadership style is holding your business back. We're going to talk about things that may be involved in that, and we're also going to talk about things as solutions for that as well. So let's dive right in. So first off, recognizing control habits that limit team capacity. That's a lot of words, Todd. Yeah. Recognizing control habits that limit team capacity. What are you talking about? Well, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your leadership style, what you do and maybe don't do that could positively and negatively affect your business. So, first off, let's talk about signs that include second guessing yourself and maybe delaying decisions. Maybe you have some task avoidant decision making processes that make you, you know what? I'm just going to sleep on it. I'm going to sleep on it for a day or two or four. And here's what I want you to kind of get through your head right at the jump. You're being watched. So the people who know that you have to make these decisions are watching you. They're watching the process that you go through to make the decisions. They're watching how long it takes you to come to a decision. And then they're also watching to see how long it takes you to execute the decision that you've already made. That's going to give them either confidence in you as a leader, or that's going to give them a lack of confidence in you as a leader. I was just talking with someone a couple days ago about potentially having to terminate an employee or two. And I said, well, talk to me about why you think you need to terminate these employees, and let's just have a conversation about that. So turns out they're kind of toxic to the environment. They are kind of pulling some other people down. Their work quality is diminishing by the week. And so, okay, it sounds like maybe they do need to be terminated. And they've been talked about, they've been given reviews, and it's just not improving. Okay, fair. So let's just say fair assessment. Yes, they need to be terminated. Well, the people who are doing a great job are picking up the slack for the people who are doing a poor job. They notice this. They see the problems that the toxic people are creating. And so what I said to this leader, and I said, they're watching you. They're watching you and the other management on how you're going to handle this, because how you're going to handle this is either going to give them confidence in you or a lack of confidence in you. So handle it carefully, but don't just sit on it. Don't just sit on it. Make a decision and then have conversations. And then if you're going to do it, do it. Because nothing sucks the life out of good employees more than watching bad employees stick around. Now, they're either going to stick around because they've got the wool pulled over management's eyes, or management does know and is aware, and they're just not doing anything about it. Because then it's like, well, why the heck am I working so hard? Like, these people are doing a horrible job. Management knows they're doing a horrible job, and yet they're still sticking around. That doesn't inspire me to do a fantastic job for myself or for the company. So be mindful of the optics of the situation. You are being watched, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. Your direct reports and staff are watching you to see how you make these decisions. So if you second guess yourself, do it privately. If you're going to delay a decision, make sure you're upfront about delaying the decision. Don't just say, yep, we're going to decide on that. We're going to make a decision this week. And then you wait a week, 2 weeks out. Everybody's like, I guess management's not doing anything about it. I guess the CEO's not going to do anything about it. And then you make a decision 2 weeks later, and now it's kind of like whiplash. You're like, oh, wow, I guess they did something about it. And then again, that inconsistency, they don't know what to expect. That does not inspire confidence in you as a leader. And that's what you want. Being a leader is leading the troops, leading the charge. It is also being somewhat of a politician, because you have to control a narrative. And I know we talk about this in news and modern media all the time. Control the narrative, and it's like, oh, this negative thing. But what if we said, let's control the flow of information? Because we do. There are certain things that our people need to know, and there are certain things our people do not need to know. We need to control that on both sides as leaders. So if you're going to delay a decision, make sure that's just kind of out there so people understand, like, okay, yep, we said we're going to make a decision on this by Thursday. We don't have enough information yet. So we're going to gather some more information. Hopefully we'll be able to make a decision by next Tuesday. Oh, okay, fair. In all of my leadership journeys, the one thing that I have found that has been the most helpful is People just need to know. Now, do they really need to know? No, but it makes everything else smoother if they do. Because then they're not asking questions. Remember, information that your direct reports and your staff does not have from you, they're going to make up in their own minds. So can you control what they make up in their minds? No, you can't. So make sure they have good information to go on. That's going to be the most helpful for you. Also, your need for perfection may be slowing down the team. Now, I've got this saying, you've heard me say it a ton of times before, done is better than perfect. Because if you're waiting for perfect, oftentimes you get nothing done. Done is better than perfect. Don't let your drive for perfection, which is a noble goal, is attainable sometimes, but don't let that delay your decision-making process. It may be slowing down the team because if they're waiting for you to make a decision and you just keep, let me one more tweak and let me talk to one more person, let me have one more meeting and let me take that one more call. And your team is over here like, we're waiting, let's go, come on. And you give them nothing, that disincentivizes them to work hard because it's like, oh, we're just waiting on Todd. Can't get anything done until Todd makes a decision, get something done. So what I've said is, and I said this a couple weeks ago, if you watch that that weekly webinar, give them chunks. Maybe you've got a chunk of it done. Okay, give it to them. Give them the chunk that's done so that they can move forward and get on with whatever that they need to get on with. Don't wait for the whole thing. If you've got a chunk ready, give that to them so they can get started. And then if you're not happy with the product, if you're like, it's not quite perfect yet, I want to do, okay, fair. Tell them that. Say, hey, I'm going to give this to you now. There's a couple tweaks or changes I'm going to make next week. I'll let you know about those. They'll be in this area. Oh, okay. Most teams are good with that. And now they've got in the back of their minds that some change is coming, that a tweak is coming next week, and that they need to be prepared for that. So then when you bring that to them, you can reference the conversation that you had last week. Remember when I said I was going to bring this to you? I was going to change this little thing. Yep, here it is, ready to go. Okay, great. We're going to just put that in. Thanks, Todd. Yep. And then it moves forward smoothly. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yeah. Think about that. Hit me up in the messages if you think you know what that means or where that's from. I've said this before. Next thing is how to shift from a doer, somebody who's in the trenches doing the thing, to a developer. A developer is a person who has the ideas, puts the processes in place, and lets the doers do the work. So I was working with a client about almost exactly a year ago now, and this was a small technology company that I was working with, and their lead engineer was the lead developer, was the lead field technician. Yeah. How do you think that was going? Yeah. Pulling their hair out because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm developing these strategies and these systems and supports. I'm implementing them. I'm like everything. And I said, what you need to do is nobody else can do the development part of that. You're the only one who can do that in the company. But there are other people who can go out into the field and install the hardware and install the programs and set up the support. You need to structure things and move to a place where you are doing less of the work in the trenches and more of the development work. You can only do what you are doing. And they were like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I said, but could you train so-and-so over there to install that? Oh yeah, I could teach them to do that in 30 minutes. Yep, it only takes you 15 to do it. But if you could train them to do it, train them to do it one time, watch them do it a second time, they're probably going to do it right the third time without any help, right? Yeah. I said, and then in 2 weeks, what do you have? Time. You have time back. You have time to do the development. You have time not driving to a site. You have time not doing the install. And I said, so if we implement this in a month from now, if we implement it now in a month, how much time back do you think you would get each day? And he said, Some days 2 hours, some days 15 minutes. On a week, I'd probably get 5 to 6 hours back. So let me ask you, as a business owner, as a CEO, as whatever you are in your organization or your business, what if I could give you 5 to 6 free hours back every week to do high level management, high level CEO, only the things that you could do? What would that mean for your business? Probably a lot, right? That's like 10% free time given back to you. Maybe you don't do anything with it. Maybe you just take that 10% free time and like lessen your load a little bit. Okay, now I'm only working 45 hours a week instead of 55 to 60. Maybe that's what you do with your time, and that's okay. But you could get that back. So find ways that you can go from being the main doer to the main developer. And that's going to be one of the key things to help. So, like I just talked about, training this guy up, mentor somebody to do something that you don't have to do. My wife, her CEO did that with her. He trained her on how to do some of the bookkeeping so that he didn't have to do it. So now she's got a system, she's got a process, she knocks it out, and he's not doing it because now he can go meet with donors, he can go meet with developers, he can do all of these things that he's not doing because he's not doing the bookkeeping anymore. He got his time back because he mentored somebody who could do that for them. Another big thing is teaching your team to think through problems and not just react to problems that they encounter. So teach them, okay, here's this problem. And this is, I did a video on this on YouTube. So look this up on my channel, but teach them to think for themselves and mentor them in a way that they can think like you. So share your mind. And I called the video something like share the mind of the master. Okay. Your people think like them. They don't think like you. Teach them to think like you, and you multiply yourself. So here's a great example. We've all done this before. We've all sat down with a tablet of paper and a pen, and we've watched a 30-minute cooking show. And what have we been doing during that 30 minutes? We've been listening to this 5-star chef talk about how they're going to prepare this roast. They're going to braise it. They're going to make this chutney with it. I'm just making up cooking words. I don't really know what these mean. Just think I'm repeating stuff that I've heard. And they're going to put this sauce on it. They're going to pair it with this wine. They're going to pair it with this dessert. And we're going to, and what are you doing for 30 minutes? You are listening to the mind of the master. They're giving you their best insights, a 5-star chef. Man, I can't cook like a 5-star chef, but if I listen to them and write down everything they do, I could probably get pretty close because they're telling me how to do it. They're sharing with me all of their tips and their secrets. Yes. Now, could you do that with your employees? Are they going to do it just like you perfectly? No, but could they get really close? Close enough? Yeah. And with a little ongoing mentoring and coaching and, hey, I'm going to stop in next week and just see how you're doing. Hey, wow, fantastic on all of these. Tweak this one little thing right here. Great. Yeah, I'll stop in next week too. We'll just check in. And again, exceptional leadership can be done in bursts of 15 to 20 seconds. You've heard me say that a lot because it's true. Once you've got them going, they don't need you there for 2 hours every day. They just need you to check in, and you're the master. So you can just check. Oh yeah, this all looks fantastic. Tweak this right here. This is one thing that needs to be tweaked. Great. Perfect. Yep. Roll with it. I'll check in next week. Next week, it might be perfect. It might be the exact way that you would have done it. Now you're freed up. You don't have to do that anymore because you mentored and coached somebody along, and you've taught them to think like you. And when they think like you, the next logical step is if they're thinking like you, they're responding like you, you've mentored them, they've taught you to do things like you, now they're going to execute like you. And if they're executing like you, you've multiplied yourself. So let me ask you, we're going to go back to the time question. Let's say there's you and you're doing all this stuff and you're working 55, 65 hours a week on your business, which I know a lot of you are doing. If you could multiply yourself in a month, let's say that's a fair assessment, and unload 2 or 3 major tasks from your docket, now you only need to work 40 to 50 hours a week. You got 10 hours a week back. Would you fill that with other things that only you can do? Sure. That's a possibility. Would you just take a load off for a little while? Maybe your wife wants to take you or wants you to take her on vacation. Maybe your kids want to see you in the evening sometime after dinner's done instead of having to retreat to your office every single evening. That's something that we can never get back. We can't make more time for ourselves, but we can get it back if we train up people underneath us. We mentor them, we teach them to think and execute like us. We've multiplied ourselves. And that is something that I know every single one of you watching this video wishes you had more time in every single day. There's a way to get it. All right. Lastly, creating a scalable leadership model. Geez, I wonder what Todd's going to talk about leadership models. Yeah, we're going to talk about leadership and how to scale that. Build systems that run without your constant input. Didn't we just talk about that like 2 seconds ago? Yes. Mentor and coach people. Build systems that don't need you to touch them every single time. Now, should you touch them occasionally? Absolutely. Your staff, your direct reports needs to know that you are still around, you're still involved, and you still know what's going on. Mostly just because that keeps everybody in check, right? But they need to see you around. They need to see you involved because it's important to them. Now, if you can build models that are scalable and run without you constantly being there, what does that look like? Well, it means that you have to mentor people. You have to coach people. You have to teach them how to think. You have to teach them how to execute like you. See how this is going? This is all just reverse engineered back to, wow, if I just multiplied myself, trained somebody to do some of the things that I do, not all of them, but some of the things that I do, then I don't have to do those things. I'm also training a future leader within my company. So you have to also be careful who you train up. You don't want to just pick the new person. Oh yeah, you're the new person. Come on in here. Let me show you what to do. No, you want to start to grow your company. You want to grow your management. You want to grow the people within your organization. So let's say, you know what, so-and-so would be a really good VP someday. They are not by any means ready, but they've got all the raw materials. I like how they think. They're loyal. They work hard. You know what? I'm going to give them a task, just one. And I'm going to see how they do with it. I'm going to train them up. And if that goes well, maybe I'll add another one in another couple months. Take your time with this process, but this could also be a roadmap to promotion within your business, within your organization. And as you promote within, you're also reducing some of the things that you have to do. Because what's the mark of a really good business? That it runs without you. So think about that. Delegate decision rights. Delegate decision rights. What that means is you are delegating not only the task to do, but you're also delegating the rights to make the decision. Let them make calls. Now, I've done a whole thing on this, my implementing change in organizations the correct way, not the wrong way. So I've done another video on that. You can go back, find that on my YouTube channel. But one of the things that you want to be able to do is you want to empower people to make decisions. Now, you're not going to just say, do whatever you want and just throw things in the wind. No, you're going to give parameters, just like bowling with bumpers. I've talked about this before. If you just give somebody a bowling ball and tell them to fling it down the bowling alley and they've never bowled before, the likelihood the ball is going to go in the gutter is pretty high. But what happens when you put the bumpers up? It gives them parameters all the way down, and their likelihood of success skyrockets. I always score better when I bowl with bumpers than when I bowl without them. Maybe you do the same thing. But that's what we need to do with our businesses and our organizations. Give them parameters and say, yes, here, I want you to take this. I want you to make these decisions. I don't necessarily want you to ask me unless you're really stuck. I'm going to give you the rights and the authority and the empowerment to do this on your own within these realms, within these boundaries. Because then, man, even if they don't do it the way that you want them to, if they're still within the parameters, within the boundaries, they're not going to make a bad decision. Might not be what you wanted, but maybe let them run with it. See, this is part of training people up. And you don't give somebody a super important task right off the bat. You scale those as well. I'm going to give you this. It's easy. If you screw it up, it's not a big deal. don't say that to them, but say, hey, I'm going to give you this task. I'm going to give you this project. I want you to work on it. And I want to see how you do with this. Okay. Now, if they screw it up, easily fixable. They don't need to know that. Okay, they did pretty good with that. Yep. I came back and I checked in on them. I touched what they did a little bit and gave them some feedback. They responded to me well with the feedback. We had really good conversations. That went really, really well. And I liked how they were thinking about that because I gave them some parameters. Okay, next project, a little bit more important. And you scale those things up. You're not going to do this in a week. This is going to take months and months. But if you put in the legwork early on and you pick the right people and you give them the right authority, empowerment, and responsibilities, then in 12 months, you might have 2 or 3 people who can now do a lot of the things that you were doing, freeing you up to do only the things that you as the business owner, the entrepreneur, the CEO can do. And that's why building a system is really important. You're delegating the rights to make the decision, not just the work and the responsibilities. So I hope you found this helpful. This is something that's a little bit more kind of out there. It's not as nuts and bolts as some of the other stuff that we've talked about, but maybe your leadership style is holding you and your company back. And these are some ways that you can get some time back. These are some ways that you can free yourself up, build your company, and hopefully become more profitable and get some time back. Because, why are we all in this? We're all in this to make a good living and live a good life. I think those are the 2 biggest reasons that we're in business, that we want to make a good living and we want to live a good life. And we can't make a good living, we can make a good living if we're working a ton of time, but we can't live a good life if we don't get some of our time back. I won't call out this person's name, but there's probably a lot of them out there. There's a very famous name that if I said it, you'd be like, oh, I've heard that name. And he's in a lot of businesses, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. He is everywhere, multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, done a ton of businesses. And his thing was, I disappeared from my family for about 4 to 5 years. All I did was work. They never saw me. But now we've got this fantastic life. We can fly private jets. We can go to the island. We can go to this house. We can go to... Yes. But you had kids and you lost 5 years. Now your kids are adults and they enjoy living life with you. Sure. But you lost 5 years of your kid's life. Is that worth it to you? Now, if it is, fine. No judgment. That's your life. That's your family, whatever. To me, that's not worth it. I want time with my family. I want to go on the road trip and eat Twizzlers and have the funny jokes and watch my kids sit in the back seat and get crazy because they're tired and now they're slap happy and they're making jokes and we're all laughing together. I want that. I want to stop at the rest area and be like, wow, this is a cool rest area, or wow, we are never stopping here again. And don't forget to hit up Buc-ee's, right? Yeah. So I hope you found this helpful. This is something that we need to talk about more. And how do we get time back? Because a lot of us we know how to work. We know how to work hard, but we don't know how to stop working. Because if you don't stop working, you miss out on so much stuff. All right. Thanks for joining me this week. I really appreciate your time. We will catch you all here next week on the People First Weekly Webinar. Have a great week, everybody.